Of course. There we go.
Hi, this is Christine Baumgardner with The Perfect Catch. I am on WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network Radio, TV, and Podcasts, the #1 internet singles talk radio. And today I'm talking again with Barry. We had so much fun talking last week. We're going to do it again this week. Hi, Barry.
Hi, nice to be back. It's going to be fun.
I think so too. It's such a fascinating subject in general. And as you were saying, that it seems to be even more poignant right now.
Yeah.
That often people don't even consciously realize that one of the reasons that they're not feeling successful in dating is they're not making room in their life for dating, period, because it does take a time commitment, as well as relationships. Those really take some time commitments. So I think if we bring up some of the reasons that we see how people are letting it interfere their lives, their emotions, that they'll be surprised to go, oh my gosh, that's me. And that could be part of what their problem is. And then you and I both have lots of solutions for that.
Absolutely. Although one thing I'd add as a PS to what you said is there's not just time commitment, it's also an emotional commitment, and it's also an energy commitment too. It's about being available for a relationship. So you may have plenty of time on his calendar saying, I've got plenty of time for a relationship. If you're not emotionally available, then you're missing something too. So it's not just about the time.
No.
Because right now, with a lot of people going through, during this quarantine time, this interesting time we're dealing with, yes, for a lot of people, they've got more time than they know what to do with because they're not like doing a 9-to-5 job and they're not doing certain things, but they may not be emotionally or even mentally available for a relationship. They're so busy locking down or just doing something else. So we can cover all of that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think those are really good topics of the time, the energy, and the emotions.
Mm-hmm.
One on its own is going to keep us from having a relationship. And oh my God, the trifecta if you have all three.
Indeed. All those components.
Yeah. So talking about, we could just start out with the time that depending on how you meet people. Sorry, that is the cat causing an earthquake on the laptop. Usually he sleeps through this. Yes, he's the newest man in my life.
So he's got a viewpoint to add, apparently.
Yes, I think so. Yes. So, Mr. Sammy, I'm going to put you on the ground if you don't cut that out. I have a friend that I go horseback riding with every week. We've been going for about 10 years. And her mother had to go in an assisted living place. And the 2 cats that I'd had from my marriage had both died within 5 months of each other, of old age, but it was still really sad and hard to have gone. So I was 2 weeks without a cat, and I had had a cat in my life for over 26 years. So my friend said, well, do you want to try and see? It's kind of like trying out a new relationship. Are we going to like it?
There you go.
So he's been here since March, and it was a good match right from the beginning.
Oh, good. It's always good to have that.
Play with the computer.
Right.
So depending on how you want to meet, how you're choosing to meet people, and right now, since people can't really go to a lot of the places we were meeting people with, meetups in person and restaurants and bars, then online we're back to online, which I'm a huge fan of. I think it's a really great way. It's truly the biggest pool of single people out there, I think.
Well, for a start, when you're doing online dating, you're hoping to meet people who are actually committed to meeting somebody who are single, although there are stories about Tinder where there are married people cheating on their partners. That's another story. But it's like you go to Trader Joe's, you've no idea if you meet somebody in there for a single relationship. Mm-hmm. So that's one of those things. And plus now, of course, with mask wearing and the distancing, it's so interesting because, talking about people are now doing Zoom dating because they're actually using Zoom to date through because it's face-to-face without having to worry about the social stuff because there's no physical contact.
Yes.
But it is an interesting dance now because most of us, for me personally, one of the biggest challenges for me is I need to see her face to know if she's someone I'm interested in. And when you can just see from the eyes up, it's like the eyes can be beautiful, but you don't know what the rest of it is. It's like mystery dating.
Yeah. That's a really good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Video using Skype or FaceTime or Zoom or WhatsApp. Really, we have lots of different ways right now that are so super effective for seeing people like this, where you get to feel energy. It's not the same as in person. It's better than just on the phone, I think. At least
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, in progressive connection and communication, it's like it starts with word, with text, to audio, to video, and then in person, this sort of thing. So there's definitely benefits going along the way. And frankly, I'm feeling like more on it now, that to meet somebody in person 6 feet apart is better than doing things on Zoom, because you get first of all, you can see the whole person head to toe, which on a Zoom is like, you could be wearing sweatpants or shorts on and you don't know. So that that sort of thing. But the second part is for me also one of my sensitivities, I guess is probably the word, but is I feel into somebody's energy, which is harder to do through a screen than it is in person. When I meet somebody in person, not only am I sort of getting to see them and hear them, I can sort of feel like what's their vibe, what they're about type thing, which is much easier to do in person. So meeting somebody for a date, like having a picnic in the park where you're sitting 6 feet apart on the edge of the tablecloth, where you get to set your mask off so you can see each other, that's probably the least worst of all the possibilities during this time.
I've said that same phrase, least worse.
Yeah.
It's the best we have, so let's use it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're going to use online dating, I've talked frequently about the time that it takes to prepare a profile, a really good profile where you've talked about yourself in a story and who you want in a story, and then put it up and get pictures taken of your face, your whole body, and some activities that you enjoy doing. And then you have to check, and you need to write to people, and you need to search for people. So my criteria when I've done it is I often do it in the evening, and I'll turn on like Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune. And the length of the show, isn't that funny? But it was nice because I had a time limit, and I would search for that long, and then I'd just be done. Because people do it too much, they could start feeling discouraged.
Yeah, it's like you're going down a wormhole or a rabbit hole, just never ending. Yeah.
Yeah, because you need to have a full life. And so if you're going to have a full life, part of it is not spending the whole time on dating apps or Facebook.
Right.
So someone commented that people want relationship, yet change their minds when things get tough and conflict arises. Well, yes.
Yes. It's like, well, of course, yes.
Yeah.
Because the other part about this thing about commitment of time and energy and emotion is people a lot of times want to do the, what's what I'm looking for? The lightweight relationship, where everything's fine and it's good and you're okay. The dance of relationship, if you really are fully in with both feet in the relationship, is you got to be willing to go through the good and the bad, or I should say the easy and the harder. I'll put it that way. Because the truth is, yes, there are times in relationships when stuff gets challenging. It's like having fair weather friends. A fair weather relationship isn't a relationship. That's basically just dating in some ways. And for me, I have a definition, by the way, of what dating is versus relationship. Dating is something that is like checking things out. In Alison Armstrong's way, she talks about it's like a hunting technique for men. So dating, some of men go sort. It's almost like actually it's not dating. It's a sorting system for men. She calls it. It's like it's like you're the one, you're the one, you're the one. So we're basically like going through checking, like choosing a car almost. Whereas a relationship is committing to one person and then being, for me in my conversation, monogamous. Because some people don't choose monogamy. I understand. So for me, relationships and dating are two different things. They're almost like dating's the intro, relationship is the main course.
Yes.
So that's my languaging.
The appetizers. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's how it should be. It really is how it should be. That you're checking in and out, that you're checking them out, that you're letting them check you out. How are you doing when conflict does come up? There's a misunderstanding that comes up. Because if you can't get through that in the early times, you really cannot have a relationship, because there are hard things that come up in relationships.
Oh, yeah. The longer you're together,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, the longer you're with them, the deeper things can go. One of the things that I talk about in my work, because my background in psychology, is the fact that for all of us, we have unresolved issues from our upbringing and from early dating that's basically imprinted, because we get imprinted in a love languages from a very young age. And I don't mean Gary Chapman's love language. I mean we look at love through a lens that our parents demonstrate to us.
Yeah.
So in our adult dating life, that can tend to be the underlying theme we live by without realizing it. And so when you meet somebody who starts to push the buttons of that memory, then it can become really painful to be with that person. So the choice becomes, do you work through it or do you bail? And for
Yeah.
some people, the easy way out is the choice. They'd rather not stay in. They'd rather just get out. They don't want to deal with it. And some people go through that again and again and again, because that's the challenge is, if you're going to be in a relationship, the stuff that's tied to loving is going to come up to be dealt with. And if you don't want to deal with it, you're going to have a hard time.
Yeah. I've found for me, and I watch it happen for my clients, and I bet you have seen this, that we seem to call people into our lives that will each bring up something that needs to be healed in the other person. And then we each have the singular choice of, am I going to stick with this and deal with it, or not the other person does it at all? It's whether you're going to, because then you can really heal it.
Yeah.
And I think that really concerns people is when they go, but things were going really good. I go, well, that's when you're really comfortable and stuff just comes bubbling to the surface. I use the analogy of an aquarium that, you look at the water and it's really clear. You need to clean it occasionally, and you get out that little vacuum thing and you start stirring it up, and there's all that fish poop and all that food they haven't eaten. It's so cloudy and messy. You're like, what happened to my clean aquarium? But when you vacuum it out, it really is clean then. And so
Absolutely.
I think what we're doing in our romantic lives.
Well, that's the other thing is also, because it is about going deeper and doing the deeper work. It's also putting the energy in. It's like a lot of people go in a relationship, put all the effort in up front, like the honeymoon phase. Then once they get in a relationship, they get lazy and comfortable. It's funny. I was just thinking, my analogy just dropped in right now because I'm doing it right now. Is I joined the sourdough club once we got into this virus, like making sourdough bread, and I did a starter about a few months ago. But the thing is like with sourdough starters, you can't just feed it once and then put it away and be done with it. It's got to be fed regularly to be able to create the starter for the next loaf. And so, and in a way, that parallels relationships. You've got to keep putting energy in to keep putting the effort in to make the relationship work. So, if you put in the grand gestures of being the wonderful gift giver and the servant to your partner in the first 3 months because it's so wonderful, and then you get to the point where you're no longer worried about the other person and you give up doing that, that's not an effective relationship either. So you got to continue, again, making time and having the room. You've got to keep committing to that relationship every day and putting effort in.
Yeah. Prior to being a dating and relationship coach that I started 12 years ago, I owned an event management company, and one of the couples I worked with, their parents, we were talking, and they said every year on their anniversary, they'd say, so do you want to do this another year? Yep. Do you want to do this another year? And it's not as if they were going to say no, but they both kept it fresh in their mind that question was going to be asked on their anniversary. And I thought that was really a terrific plan.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
That's nice. I mean, I have friends of mine who they renew their vows every 10 years, but once a year is pretty cool too. So I like having that choice point, because it is something that, again, putting the energy in continually, not just one time, but every day.
Yeah.
Is the key.
And one of the other things that I hear frequently from people is they'll say, especially women, men too, I guess, I really, really want to be in a relationship, and I really, really don't want to date. They say strongly. But one of the things that happens in dating, along with you get to see your stuff, you get to see their stuff, you do get to see, is there room in my life? Is there room emotionally? Is my heart open? Have I been hurt so much that I've closed it down, that I need to have it be open again? Do I have the time? I build up my life with grandchildren and work and hobbies, that when would I have time to see another person?
And also, will the other person complement things I'm already doing?
Yes.
Because the other part as well is, and this is one of the things about compatibility, is if you have, like something you said about horse riding, if you have a partner who's afraid of horses or doesn't want to deal with horses, you might feel there's a disconnect, because that when you go horse riding, they don't want to come with you. And like for me, like personally, I live in California by the ocean. I'm not really into doing water sports. That's not my thing. So if I meet a person who wants to go surfing, I'm going to be on the beach. I mean, I'll take pictures for them, but I won't just join them in surfing, which may be okay, maybe not. It's important to cover those things, because you need to know, do you want that person to be participating in the things you do, and vice versa? You're going to participate in things they do, so you can add to your experience in the relationship.
So important. I have a client who rides over 3,000 miles a year on his bicycle. and he rides every day. And we put in his profile, he prefers to ride alone. He does.
Okay.
It's thinking time. It's his re-energizing time. He would just as soon not have, he's fine going out in groups now and then. And if somebody wants to do that, but to be somebody that we on purpose said, you do not have to even know how to ride a bicycle. There are other things that he would like you to have in common with him, but that was not one.
Oh yeah, having it is okay. Also, that's the other part. By the way, having room for a dating relationship, you also want to make sure you have time for yourself when you're in that relationship too. And when you're single, it's easy, obviously, spending all the time alone. But having private time and like that bike riding, you know, when I bike ride, not as much as that, but I like to go and bike ride once in a while just to clear my head. And I have two friends of mine who both are like century riders. They ride I have a mountain bike. They have road bikes, and they ride every day like hours. I'm nothing like them, not even that close. But they do it for the same thing. They do it because that's their commitment to themselves for health, but also to really like work through things to get their head clear and do other things. They don't need anyone else around them. They put their earbuds in and go. And that, frankly, is a thing that you want to make sure you don't give that up for a relationship. Because the other part too is if you've got certain things you're committed to in your life when you're in a relationship, if you give those things up, it's going to start building resentment because you're going to be missing those things later on in the relationship. So it's important to maintain your personal hobbies, habits, whatever those things are, that support you and serve you. So when you're in a relationship, that continues to work for you.
Yes. And you stop being your best self if you're not doing the things that serve you mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually.
Absolutely.
And knowing, so getting clear on your own about how much alone time do you need? How much together time do you need? And then convey it to the other person and do the Alison Armstrong, if I could have it all my way.
Right.
I love those conversations because both people get to say, if I had it all my way, this is what I'd like. And then you come up with a compromise if you want together, because nobody gets it all their way. That's really
well, not a healthy relationship. There are people who get it all their own way and the other person becomes a slave to that. That's not healthy.
No. And so you want to keep some of your autonomy.
Yes.
I've known couples that are completely joined at the hip. That's what makes them happy. It works for them. And they talked about it and they found somebody that felt that same way. And then when you have somebody that I need this much alone time, you need to have somebody in your life that thinks that that's okay too. Yeah,
there's one of my lessons in I think it's in my master's program. We talked about this about a couple of pieces. One of the things is about the relationship is not this. A relationship is this. The wiring people have is that something think a relationship is we're going to be looking in each other's eyes forever. The problem is you can't see where you're going. No. You're blinded by the other person. So healthy relationships when you're side by side walking together. And my parents were together 60 years till my mum passed away. And they were very codependent. They were very much basically unable to function independently. In fact, after my mum passed away in 2012, my dad's ability to function was basically gone. And he declined, and he has been declining since. I mean, he's got a strong constitution, so he's still around. He just turned, he just turned 94 yesterday. And my brother sent me a video from the nursing home where they have a cake, and he's definitely not looking like the last time I saw him. He's changed a lot, and it's basically because he's declined. Last time I saw him was at my mother's memorial. So that was 2012, been 8 years. Yes, it has been a while. So his mental capacity has been shutting down his body, so he's becoming less and less he doesn't put any effort in. And I watch that and see that's the side effect when codependency doesn't work. Well, codependency doesn't work, period, for my languaging. But the truth is that enmeshment they had meant that his ability to think on his own 2 feet and do his own things, even though he ran the house when we were, as a kid, he ran the house for everybody. He's given that up since then. So that missing element, and of course, this is his forever. I mean, it sounds romantic to say she was his forever love. So he'll never date anybody after that. And he was 86 at the time. But his feeling of giving up everything for your partner and having nothing left for yourself, it sounded, when I was in my 20s, it sounded great. But now I'm looking back and going, that's not a good choice. You want to have a relationship additive to your life, not replacing something you think you're missing. It's often what happens too with parents and their children. They stop being lovers. They stop being companions. They become just parents. Mm-hmm. The kids leave and they're like, well, who is this person I'm living with? And we haven't talked in so long. And what do we have in common? And how would we work this out after it's been,
18 years of not talking.
Right.
Very difficult. So to start that right away when you're dating, about talking about your life and what's important to you and things you like, and find out the other person, whether or not it's just one meeting or a bunch of meetings that turns into a relationship. I found it was really helpful to keep getting clear about what it was I needed and wanted, and learn how to ask the other person what they needed and wanted.
Right. In fact, I would summarize it this way, which is, what is your relationship with yourself first? And then what is your relationship with yourself when you're in a relationship?
Yeah.
And are they the same?
Wow. That's because, oh my gosh, I bet most of the time people, whether they know it or not, it's not.
Most people, I mean, I did. I definitely adapted my life from when I was single to when I was in a relationship, and I paid the price for that. Yeah. So, and that's the thing, and I've been single for over a decade now, because I was doing my own work and changing my own focus. I had to get clear about what is my relationship with myself. And that means also, don't even date unless I can maintain that.
Yeah. You need to remain to be your authentic self, because generally that's who we first meet, is that person's authentic self. And then we like, well, where did they go and what happened? And I liked that person and they're not exactly the same. And when we start changing too much, thinking what the other person might want, or changing because the other person wants us to.
Yeah, as Billy Joel said, don't go changing to try and please me.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. It's true. It's probably one of the biggest, well, not the biggest, but right up there of what my male clients are frustrated with, that women keep changing and they don't understand why.
Well, I got an interesting response to that. let me sidetrack something else, because in LA, particularly living in LA, it feels like a lot of people put on a pretense or an act or a presentation, almost like they're selling themselves first. That then when they're in a relationship, that goes away and actually their authentic self gets revealed. So that's one thing. The second thing, excuse me, is this paradigm of thinking they shouldn't change. And this again, back to my different teachers I work with, is really clear that frankly, women are never the same. They're always changing.
That's true.
So for us men, we need to get used to that, because we like stability, because generally for us, being still in who we are and staying where we are is what makes us most comfortable generally for men. Some men like to go and do everything, change all the time. But for most men, just having consistency and status quo in their life is good. And the most challenging thing to that in our lives is a woman.
Yeah. There's a funny saying that a woman marries a man hoping he'll change and he doesn't, and a man marries a woman hoping she won't change and she does.
And it's absolutely accurate, yeah.
So who we are, it really is. But fundamentally, who we are generally would stay pretty much the same, but we certainly have moods, and we're thinking 12 things at the same time, and a new set of 12 things. So yeah, I know that's really, really hard on men. But what I've also seen is sometimes when women have a lot of chemistry about a man, they do make up in their head, well, he wouldn't like if I said that. He wouldn't like if I did that. He wouldn't like if I wear that. So then we start turning ourselves into a pretzel.
Right.
The guy didn't even ask. And that confuses him too. I've seen that.
Yeah, the thing about that self-editing tool can work against us so easily, and really is a killer thing, is if you, again, like relationship with yourself as you are, and the relationship with somebody else as you are, relationship with yourself when you're somebody else, that's the thing. Is if you change who you are to be with somebody else, something's missing. If you're naturally one way, and I don't mean like certain habits you get into because you're single. The truth is the relationship you have with yourself, how you communicate it, how you share, how you stand, how you think of yourself. If that adapts when you're in a relationship, there's something shifting. Be aware of what that is, and maybe you need to change something.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a good thing to change. If you're changing for the other person.
Right.
Yeah. So one of the other things, the physical part I was thinking about too, is our physical space. Do we have room? I know my neighbor has been engaged for 5 years. They don't have any intentions of getting married, but they like being engaged, their age and their financial situation. And they've kept their separate homes. They live 4 miles apart. They spend every day and every night generally together, but they like having their separate space. And most of the people I know end up cohabitating, whether they get married or not,
Mm-hmm.
do you have space? Do you have closet space? Do you have drawer space? Do you have bathroom space? It's important to make room in your heart and in your mind and in your physical space if you're going to think about inviting somebody in.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly, being a widow, it was something that I had to think about, and I coach widows about, of we have to go at our own pace about as we give away, do something with our spouse's things, and we have to just really be at a good time for us. But we have to do it if we're going to invite somebody in. And you don't get
Absolutely.
everything. I'm just saying make room.
Yeah.
Really important to think about it.
It sounds so simplistic, but it is having closet space and room, like having like simple things. This is one thing from way back when, was about having like two bedside tables, two bedside lamps, not just having one side. Like your bed is pushed up against the wall, how do they get in the bed? So you've got to have room for that to be in your life. So those simple things can change. That's a whole feng shui conversation, but there's so many pieces of the puzzle that can clarify, again, having room in your life for a relationship. And that again comes back to, like, does your relationship with yourself accommodate having room for somebody else in your life as well? I know a couple who basically have been together for a long time, love each other dearly, but they have separate bedrooms. So in the same house, basically what they do is, because the way they sleep, they prefer having their own space to sleep in. They come together for lovemaking and other stuff as well. I'm not sure if they have 3 bedrooms or the way they set it up, but they have 2 separate rooms to sleep in because they just want to sleep, and they don't have a need to sleep together, that's their choice.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding each other's habits and preferences is a good thing to have to build that intimacy, because the intimacy works better when you know what you're choosing into.
Yes. And you understand it's not personal, because I have very close friends that have been married just now 56 years, and they have had separate bedrooms, certainly have all their intimate time together very regularly, which
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear, because people tell me this kind of stuff. So funny. I go, look what I do for a living. I talk
I
about,
know. Oh dear.
yeah, it's fun. But they both say it's learned. They both sleep so much better having rooms that were apart for the sleeping part.
Right.
One stays up later and reads. One of them snores. So it works, and as nobody takes it personally, because that would be horrible.
Well, that's the thing. Understanding is that for your best opportunity to be together, you got to choose time to be apart.
Yeah.
And when you recognize that, that's the thing about relationships, is that there's no cookie cutter framework for a relationship.
No.
So how you are together in your private time, if you do have to, like, the rules are like you must sleep together in the same bed, otherwise it's not a relationship. That's bullshit. That's just a story that's been told. And so the normal stuff, the normal stuff in relationship is really understanding that what you do for you with your partner is up to you, not by anybody else.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
And that's the part too, where people want to share, gosh, this is what we're doing and it's really working for us. Then you have left yourself open that other people think they get to vote about what. I kept saying, I didn't send out ballots to all those people. Why do they think they get to vote about my life?
Right.
So I'm pretty careful. I just am. It's how I run my life. I just think, who am I going to tell this to? It's all my truth, but I don't have to tell my truth to everybody.
Right. And that's the thing now with social media being so prevalent over the last, since 2006, 2007, it's changed a lot of our social interactions, and also has for a lot of us, changed our visibility in the world.
Yeah.
Before social media, I'm not sure we can think back that far, but before there was social media, we'd have to pick up the phone and call somebody, or text somebody, or meet somebody in the street to communicate with it. Now you can basically put it up on a screen on the computer, and suddenly 1,000 people know what you're doing. That's dangerous when it comes to relationships.
Oh my gosh, yes. So that is such a juicy topic, and we're going to just pause for just a brief moment for take a break. This is WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio. We're going on a break. Such a fun subject. I love this subject.
Yep.
Okay, we're back. WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio, Facebook, and YouTube. And we're talking about, do you actually have room in your life to date and ultimately have a relationship? And oh my gosh, this has been such fun topics that we keep discussing, because I don't know that everybody would think about all of these at once. And so I think it's good to put them in this nice little package with a bow on it.
Indeed.
Yeah. So do you want to continue that thought? Because it was very juicy. I liked it a lot.
Bring it back to me, because I was already moving to something else before you pull me back into it. So,
well, you can continue. Go on your next subject. Perfectly fine.
Well, for me, the dance of relationship, the romance of the dance is something where we've gotten out of practice. And so, and again, because we're in the current confinement of this ongoing first wave, the ability to connect and have that wonderful romantic dance with somebody is now inhibited because of the masks, the distancing, the isolation, and everything else. So it is a quandary, so to speak. But it's also an opportunity to do things differently, because what I'm also aware of when it comes to romance and having fun, the creativity that comes with that can really open up some opportunities. Yeah. So, let's have some fun with this.
And I want to just put some exclamation points, big font, bold, underline, because of our world right now. There's so much seriousness, and I am not going to fight of any of it. But could we make even more of an effort in our own space and when we're with other people to, in addition, have some fun, to find something to laugh about, to look at the other side of it that could be silly, could be fun, could be lighthearted, because this is a perfect time for us to learn, can I create that in my life? Can I create that in my personal relationships with my family, with my friends, with my romantic partner? And it takes both people to create that. And I think if each person brings, well, what do I think is fun? And what do you think is fun? And we can, like, if you're still doing the video thing, let's learn a funny dance step, or let's make sure we come up with a joke. I used to, one of the things I did when I was dating before, I had the 365 days, there was a question on my calendar every day. Rip off the pages and stick them in my purse and take them with me on dates. And so I've been looking up those kinds of questions now, because I think it's really important to have I never thought about it that way, or wow, that's really interesting. And it's not just about the virus, and it's not just about politics, and it's not just about the economy, even though those are really important things. And I want to have somebody in my life that can talk about those. It be my only diet. I want a balanced diet, and part of it has to be fun. It has to be fun. Yeah.
You said something in that earlier on. You said about lightheartedness, one of my favorite frames. Because the thing is, a lot of us carry on a heavy heart because of what's going on in the world. We may have a lot of compassion or sadness because the way the world's going isn't what we want right now. We're not feeling very aligned to what's going on politically, or the concern about loved ones who are getting sick. So having lightheartedness, not as a ignoring what's going on, but as an additive to maintain a sanity. Yeah. So being lighthearted in our own lives, and again with a partner, is definitely additive to a relationship.
It's a balance. It's like having a balanced diet. Like having a good balance in your body so that you can walk across the room. You can't emphasize one thing all the time. And it's taking personal thought and effort, like making time to date, and opening your heart and making space, that you also have to consciously think about, who can I reach out to that I know will help me be silly today? Who can I feel silly with? They want to hear a joke. Like, we did a whole thread on Facebook the other day, and we just did all these silly knock jokes, like 15 minutes, but I felt better afterwards. It was just, laughter just gives us those same wonderful endorphins that running and orgasms. I mean, laughter is a really easy little charge in the middle of your day that doesn't take a lot of time or energy, but it does take some thought.
And you don't need to worry about taking your clothes off or take a shower afterwards. You're good. Right. But I want to touch back to social media.
With it. Pardon me.
I want to touch back to social media for a second, because that's something I'm also aware of. Because I noticed a few friends of mine have been documenting their dating experiences during this time through the social media posts, which would be fun to watch. But I'm aware of also this thing about boundaries comes up for me, because I'm aware for us, because again, social media has become so much part of our lives the last 10, 12 years, 14 years, that the ability to keep things private seems a little bit more risky. Like to be able to sort of not share as soon as you're in a relationship with somebody, hey, world, I'm in a relationship, and then all your thousands of friends know about it. Because it may be better to wait 6 months or whatever it is. And on the other side of the spectrum, I'm watching some people posting their, sort of, I won't say declining is the wrong word, but their slow self-destruction of their relationship, where they're ending a relationship through, and some of it's equitable, peaceful, and flatlined, and some of it is violent, vehement, and upsetting. So there's different courses going on. Yeah. And so I'm aware that social media has a challenge, or I should say social media is a tool, and some people use it as an emotional venting platform. Some people use it as a chance to get approval from other people. And so if you're using social media to express about your relationship, your dating, or your new relationship to get something from the world, maybe you want to reconsider.
Yeah. Because you have no control about what you're going to get. You're going to get across the board. Approval to, oh my God, how stupid are you, and everything in between, which is when I say I'm not sending out ballots about my personal life.
Exactly, as you said earlier, yeah. So it's true.
I just don't. It's just not my way. And I don't give anybody a hard time for doing it. And it's certainly places for me to comment and see if I can help people along when they're doing that. I mean, it's where my heart work is. But I very consciously started a long time ago, not including my personal life. I include my personal life when it's appropriate, when I'm talking to clients. That's the place that I do it, because I want them to say, no, that I really do. No, I've done that. I've been there. I've felt that. Absolutely. We have. And that's a really appropriate place to share it. But to people I don't know, and that I don't know that if they care about me or if I would care about their opinion, I can't. I just can't. It doesn't work for me. But I do think, that often, in some ways, we can learn from other people when they're sharing about their relationship. For sure.
So that was got chuckling on that one.
Hard way that they're learning. So, because I am the kind of person that I am an optimist tempered with realism. That just is who I've been my whole life. It's how I've kept my buoy upright the majority of my life. And so I'm really always looking at both sides of the coin. So here's the yucky side, and God damn it, I am going to find the other side of it every time. I'm going to look for it, or at least the possibility. And I can be proved wrong, but I will at least look. That's what I found when my heart was just going to bleed all over the place when I'd watch some of those posts, and I go, well, I'm going to make a point of saying that was really good advice. That was kind of shitty advice. And hope you're all watching to see maybe you wouldn't have to do it exactly this way again. So that's been one of the positive things, since it's going to happen anyway, that's one of the positive things I've seen about social media and talking about the waxing and waning of a relationship.
And that's the thing, is it can be good to teach. I mean, both of us being teachers in this area, I do a lot of memes and posts about love and relationships, because that's part of my message and teaching.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is when you're going through, if you're in a relationship, to use social media as your stage show, I mean, like present yourself out that way, has a certain risk to it, because it's definitely going to have the people who are going to be applauding, the people who are going to be booing. So understand that. And frankly, to be honest, when people put stuff on social media about their stages of their relationship, I sometimes wonder, what is it they're after? Are they really doing it for approval or for likes? Or are they doing it because they just want to share what's going on?
Yeah.
And so I always wonder about that need to share something like that, which are more private.
Yeah. And what I also tell people is often it gives such a skewed view because the people who are in really happy, healthy, long-term relationships aren't posting very much. They just aren't.
No. Anniversaries, yes, but
Picture, yeah, an anniversary thing or something really fun. So as usual, we could talk about this for hours and hours and hours, and we're getting a warning that it's going to be time to wrap up. So I'll go first and talk about how people could get a hold of me, and then please, you'll share too. So if you would like to have a conversation with me personally, I would be so happy to have you go to my website at www.theperfectcatch.com. And at the top, click on what's holding you back from love. And that will give you a chance to schedule a conversation with me, a private one where we could talk about what's going on. And I might be able to just give you some hints, or we might decide that we'd like to work together. You're welcome to send me a personal email at Christine, CHRISTINE, at theperfectcatch.com. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. And Mr. Barry, please tell people how to get.
Certainly. Well, my site is my name, so barryselby.com. In fact, almost social media used to be Barry Selby. Instagram got changed because someone took my account down, so now it's now the real Barry Selby on Instagram. Had to work around it. But YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, all those things. One of my friends told me a long time ago, whenever a new social media app or site pops up, put your name on it. That way, when you have it, you may never use it. I mean, I got my Snapchat account when it first came out. Never used it.
No.
But it's there just in case I want to. So that way my name's protected. Instagram, that didn't work so well. No. Anyway, so if you want to have a chat with me, if you go to barryselby.com/chat, you can get on my calendar. We can have a conversation. I'd love to support you and help you open your heart, clarify what you want, and give more direction.
And then you'll get his memes. Wait till you see his memes. They're
those are on Facebook. Occasionally, I'm much better at Facebook than I'm at Instagram, so definitely follow me on Facebook. My Instagram posts are about 1 in 10 of what I do on Facebook.
Yeah, I really like Facebook. Really, for that reason, if we're really reaching our target audience. They're the people that are on Facebook, people that are having questions about relationships, want to have a better relationship, want to have a relationship at all. It's a lot of the people that are out there, and I feel like you and I are really very helpful for them.
That's my service. So yours too.
Yeah, it's in my heart. I can't imagine doing anything else with my life. I'm so grateful that I figured out that there was actually a career to do.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for jumping in and being a part of this conversation. You always contribute so much. Your wealth of wisdom is unbounded. There's no end to it. And I always look forward to what you're going to say and what you're going to come up with. It's just very lovely. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. I appreciate it. Frankly, the chance to sort of share and help and inspire, it fuels me. So this is always fun to do. So thank you for the invitation.
You're so welcome. I know people say, gosh, you talk to people all day. Don't you get exhausted? I said, energized. Yeah, my husband would go, really? How many people did you talk to today? Energized. He goes, I just couldn't do that. But it is very heart-filling. It is. Yeah. Well, thank you again. And this has been wonderful. WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio, TV, and podcast, the #1 internet singles talk network. Bye till next week.